Are you curious what was shown in the second Behind the Sims? Hello, my name is Jennifer and welcome to my Sims news video. So I'm going to go over a recap and my thoughts on what was shared in the video. And as they had already announced, they went over Behind the Sims for horses. They announced the winning kit votes. They had a couple of fun things. They also did updates for Sims Mobile, Sims Free Play, and they ended with Project Rene. So starting with horses. So of course all the clips are preliminary and may not reflect what's actually in the game, but should hopefully give us some idea. So the horses have 3 traits and they have a lot of different customization features similar to how cats and dogs work, which they showed a little later. And then they showed some of like the animations and character things that they did, including the fact that the look is similar to how Sims are, so like clay hair and whatnot. And you can see there the traits that are there. And then there was a funny glitch that they showed while they were doing the animation. So they had to work on a lot of different animations, including some that let them run around corners, including when they were doing like the barrels, and you can see there with the fencing. And there are more than 30 breeds to choose from. They didn't say anything about what the breeds are there. They showed like the learning how to ride a horse, and it, is very obvious when a sim doesn't know very well. And there's lots of interactions with the horses, the foals, and they had a voice actor voicing the horses. So they sort of showed behind the sims or scenes of that too. That was to try and get more like character into that. And there you can see a child on the horse, a couple of pictures there, and you can interact with the horses, the one that's not you're riding, and then the people on the other horse, the sim. And there was a baby foal animation, which of course is pretty adorable. And there is some very preliminary looking UI because they did some play testing and they showed that at that point. I'm curious what that's going to look like in the game itself. And of course, the pack is out on the 20th, which is how they ended. But then they interviewed the production director for the Horse Ranch pack, and they actually went to visit an equestrian center a couple of times to like actually see horses in real life and helping them, with their work on the pack, which I had seen a tweet about that. And they showed lots of different clips and whatnot of the Sims interacting with horses, riding horses. And you can see there the more detail on the various colors and whatnot, including the spot that's similar to cats and dogs where they have the dots. So it looks like you're going to be able to paint and be quite creative with creating your Sims. And there's there's a child getting on the horse, which of course they can ride. So the horse looks like it goes down. And they did repeat some of the things I just was showing it. So then they also did talk about what else is coming in the pack very briefly, which of course we know there's those mini goats and sheep, and the ability to make nectar, and the ability to hold a social event where you invite everyone over to see your animals. I have to say that doesn't seem like very much extra, but of course you get the world, and the horses themselves, I guess, seem like they were probably a lot of work because you do have the skills, I think it was 4 skills that the horses can learn, in addition to obviously Sims learning how to ride. And that was in the detailed blog post about those skills. And then they shared that the official gameplay trailer is July 6th. And they didn't share in the video, but they shared in the blog post that went with the video that the developer live stream, where they usually do the deep dive, is going to be July 14th at 11 a.m. Pacific. I assume that trailer will be at 10 a.m. on the 6th of July, but they didn't actually say the times. Then they did a couple of fun things, one which was the Simlish word of the day, which they had done in the previous Behind the Sims, essentially the first one, and this time it was Teebz, which meant to calm down. And then they went in and introduced the next part with a landline phone, and the phone does come up a few times in this video. And the host got a call, and essentially she was quote unquote told who the winners were of the kit vote, and Goth Fashion won as the first one, and then for the build it was Medieval Castle, and they are going to be out in early 2024, so that won't be this year, it'll be early 2024. So let me know if you're excited for that, if that's what you voted for. And then they did some sim lore, which was a new thing. And she changed her outfit there into hearts. And then a little bit later, she has a heart bed behind her. So that heart bed I've been noticing in a few things previous, including when they had like a singer who did an interview and she was on a heart bed. And of course, we have the heart bed in the basement treasures kit, the broken heart bed. So I kind of feel like one is coming. Let's talk about the lore, which is going to be a new part. And the lore they talked about was the Calantes, and specifically Katrina Caliente, and exactly how does she fit in, because the Caliente sisters, who are twins, in The Sims 2, in their family tree there, they already had a mother and she was dead, which you can see there from that family tree. But you can see there in The Sims 4 that Katrina Caliente is showing, but she wasn't there previously. So exactly where does she come from? So the speculation started that maybe the twins cloned her to make a mother since she didn't have one. They didn't have one, but they did sort of indicate that they would have, the story would be continued later on, you know, as they fleshed out with more lore. So that was kind of a little fun thing, but the phone kept coming up even when they went into showing The Sims Free Play and The Sims Mobile. So speaking of that, The Sims Mobile, they are getting a new beach lot coming to the game in Briny Heights, and then also some other items there, including that jet ski and a couple of other things. And then they segued into The Sims Free Play, also with a phone. And for The Sims Free Play, what they are getting is a day spa and 2 new related careers, salon or spa manager, which is going to be coming to the game. And also coming soon was Super Yachts 2, and that's in July 2023. And then, of course, they moved on to Project Rene, which started with the creative director, Gina. So she explained how they are building many different elements in parallel, and that they will then bring those components together, similar to getting the ingredients and making a cake. Some things that were mentioned were prototypes that were shown in the behind the Sims, starting with like the lighting. So there were some prototype scenes, and that they had to work across computer and cell phone. I assume that just meant mobile, but I didn't mention console. And so they sort of show how that's working. And then they talked about the animation, and they had some prototype animation up there. You can see it. And they also had a prototype scene out in the neighborhood with those blobs walking around. I don't know if that means they're planning on making it like an open neighborhood versus like a fully open world, or if they haven't really fully decided. And then they went into prototype scene. So they showed the Sims, you know, inside, and very different looking UI. But again, this is very prototype and doesn't reflect what it's going to look like later. And then they showed some hair color customization exploration that they're doing, which looks like they're aiming to let you choose your colors and highlights and whatnot, which would be quite nice to see. And then last but not least, they talked about a prototype scene where they talked about trying to keep the animation more simple. I didn't quite understand how that was really going to work. And again, this is obviously very preliminary and not necessarily reflective of how it's actually going to look in the end. But that was essentially what they shared with respect to Project Rene. So I will link to the video if you want to actually see the full video, and also the blog post if you want to see the summary there. So one thing I just want to end with, the blog post already said that horses are going to be part of your household, but the screenshots here and the video clips here made it very obvious that they are indeed part of your household, which means they're going to count towards your household limit unless they somehow change it. Of course, if you're on computer and you're a mod user, you can use mods to increase your household size, but the downside with that is there is a hard limit on that 8, and you can't take your whole household into Create a Sim, which is the default for how you edit your Sims, even after you've created your household, which was not the case in previous Sims 2 and 3. And in Sims 2 and 3, you could have 8 Sims in your household, but you could have up to 10 if the extra 2 were animals, pets. So I don't know how likely it is that they're going to change that. There's been no mention of it, anything like that. And if they did, I would think they would have to somehow either change that hard coding that stops that from happening, those extra Sims being deleted, or change it so that you no longer took the whole household in to create a Sim when you're editing a Sim, and make it more like, say, Sims 3, where you only took one Sim into household after you had created the household. So let me know what you thought about everything in the video, and are you concerned about that household size? Are you someone like me who plays with large families, and so having a horse in addition to your Sims and your cat or dog is going to make it hard? Or do you play with small households so it doesn't really matter at all to you? I'd love to know. But that's going to be it for this video. Likes and comments are always appreciated, and they really help with the algorithms. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!